Right then guys, how's it going, and welcome back to Toon Tuesdays, your weekly roundup of Newcastle United news. Now, we had some good news last week where I spoke about our new record transfer signing, Joe Linton. Fingers crossed he hits the ground running in the upcoming season. Unfortunately this week, and as you will have seen from the title, it's not as good. Once again, our owner, the Newcastle United owner, has done his yearly bit where he does some sort of interview or stunt and talks a load of rubbish. So we will talk about that in a bit, because first I want to talk about some football. Obviously, we started off our pre-season training out in the Asia Trophy where we lost against Wolves, then we beat West Ham. We are now back in England, and at the weekend we played another pre-season game, this time away to Preston. Unfortunately, we lost 2-1. It is frustrating because, again, you want to try and build momentum up into the upcoming season. But I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If we lost every pre-season game and won an extra game in the Premier League, I would take it. You know, it doesn't matter, but at the same time, it is nice to see the lads, I don't know, getting the job done in pre-season in preparation for the upcoming league. We lost 2-1. Shelby started the scoring for us with a free kick, a very long free kick. To be honest, the keeper once shot for letting it in, but it was 1-0. We then came out second half. Joe Linton came on, so good to see the new signing getting out onto the pitch. He came on alongside Almiron. Almiron actually went to miss a penalty, which obviously isn't great for him or his confidence, and then Preston went on to score 2 penalties, which meant they won 2-1. It's frustrating, but as it happens, we are playing another pre-season friendly tonight against Hibs. So if you are heading up there, fingers crossed we can get a win on the board for pre-season. As I say, the game against Preston is probably going to be similar tonight. There's different players playing, different positions being played, different formations being tried in a way. If we're going to try things out, it's now. Just need to get things clicking before the season starts. The one big thing that people picked up on and has been talked about quite a lot from the Preston game wasn't necessarily the result. It was actually the fact that Dubravka didn't play. Woodman was in net. Steve Bruce said, he wanted to give Woodman a go. That's fine with me. I think Woodman deserves more chances. I actually want him to get more chances in the Cups and the season moving forward. But Steve Bruce also said that he wouldn't be surprised if Darlow played in the Hibs game tonight. Which again, I guess give everyone a go, but you want your number one goalie to be getting as much game time as possible on the lead up to the season. And obviously it's got people worried because Dubravka is linked with PSG. And Newcastle are also linked with a PSG player, Nsoki. I think that's how it's pronounced. I do not know much about this guy. But Dubravka's linked to them. We're linked with him. Yeah. I really don't want to lose Dubravka. If the option is Dubravka or this guy I've not heard much about, obviously I want to keep Dubravka. If Dubravka wants to go, we're in a tough situation. But for me, I would honestly say I think Dubravka is one of the top 5 Premier League goalkeepers, and he is massive to us. Not only is he an integral part of our team, but how much of a nightmare are we going to have if Dubravka left? Because Woodman is good, but he's not ready. And Darlow isn't good enough. And is Elliott still here? Is Elliott injured somewhere? I don't know, but he isn't good enough either. So if Dubravka left, we're going to have an absolute panic on trying to bring a new goalkeeper in. So yeah. Loss against Preston, disappointing. Fingers crossed for Hibs tonight, and fingers crossed Steve Bruce is honest with what he said, and it's that he just wanted to give some of the guys a go, and that Dubravka is going nowhere. Now then, as I mentioned at the start of the video, our owner, Newcastle United owner, Mike Ashley, has once again done his yearly interview chat that he likes to do to basically get his voice and opinion out there before the start of the season. I was actually out on Friday night in the town drinking when I started getting tweets through on my phone of what had been said, and I was pretty much just bemused by some of the quotes and statements that were coming through. If you haven't read it already, I wouldn't bother. To be honest, my opinion of Mike Ashley has not changed from before or after. I don't think the interview was anywhere near in depth enough. The right questions weren't asked, in my opinion, and it just felt pretty set up for him to try and come across in a good way, basically. Anyone can say something. If no one asks a follow-up question on a bit more detail, then you're not going to really find out much about what's actually been said. And I felt that quite a lot throughout the whole of the interview. In the words of the great Alan Shearer, I think it was Shearer who said this, copy and paste, basically. As I say, it seems to be once a year he'll come out and do his bit, and it hasn't changed. To quickly skirt over a few points, what definitely seems to get mentioned every time he talks is about how he can't keep up with the likes of Man City, Man U, or whatever else. How many times has he been doing these interviews for? For the 9th time running, I'll say it again. I'm not standing here saying that I want to be Man City or Premier League contenders. Any dream of that is so far away that I'm not even going to ask for it now. What I'm asking for, and what I believe the majority of fans are asking for, is just a fair deal on what's going on here. The TV money, the money coming in on season tickets or whatever else needs to be proportioned out, and we don't believe that's happening. To mention a few other bits, obviously the takeover was spoken about. He basically said that there is no current offer on the table for a takeover. It feels like an absolute lifetime ago that the prospect of a takeover was even happening. He went on to say, and again, I'm not really going to quote anything here because I don't remember. I've got a few notes written down. He said something about how when you're dealing with billionaires, so presumably referencing the sheikh who put the offer in, when you're dealing with someone who's got 30 billion, 100 billion, what difference does 10 million make? As if to say they've got so much money, they should just pay the extra 10 million to get it over the line. If Ashley is as desperate to get rid of the club as he seems to say he is, then surely he would be willing to take a 10 million undercut to get it over the line. So I don't really know where he was coming from with that one, expecting someone to pay more because he wants the extra 10 million. I don't know if that's the way he intended that to come across, but that's the way it came across to me, which is just very dodgy, in my opinion. Rafa Benitez was obviously discussed. Mike Ashley said, again, no quotes here, something along the lines of, I'm not an idiot. Of course I wanted Rafa to stay, and that he allegedly offered him an £8 million deal. I don't think anyone is daft enough to not think that Rafa Benitez was the right option for us going forward. And again, this is what I meant by not going into enough detail. I believe that Mike Ashley probably will have offered Rafa new contracts. The question is, what was in these contracts? He's kind of tried to put across that Rafa was all about the money, and that he's gone to China for the money, and that it was his option to do that. Let me see a copy of this contract. If everything you're saying is so true, and let me see a copy of that. Apparently, he said that he was going to offer Rafa £20 million to go towards the training facility if he stayed. That's a great offer to put on the table, but I want that £20 million in the training facility, regardless of what if you've got that money, if you've got that money, that should be going into the training facility. If the club has that money, that we should be using it in the right way, not just offering it because we want. And as great as Rafa was, and as much as I wanted him to stay, that money should be there for Bruce as well. Training facilities is not a bargaining tool. Like, that's ridiculous. He also spoke about Joe Linton. Obviously, we've got him now. I did mention at the time that Rafa wasn't overly keen on him because of the fact that he didn't think he'd have, if we spent the 40 million, he wouldn't have enough money to spend in other areas. Allegedly, Ashley offered him £20 million of his own money to get the Joe Linton deal over the line for Rafa. You know, again, great. You know, if you did that, that's great. Where's that £20 million now? Like, was that your own money or was that coming from the club? Can we have that £20 million to spend on another player now? Or did that money go towards Joe Linton? You know, some of the things that he was saying, if there'd been a legitimate, I don't know, like cross-reference interview where more than one person can ask follow-up questions on what is being said, basically. As I said, I don't think that Ashley wouldn't have offered Rafa a contract, but where's the questions regarding what was in that contract? What did Rafa want that you didn't give him, and so on and so on, you know? And I think trying to push Rafa off as being the money-greedy man who wanted to go to China, it's just not right. I really don't. This is what I mean. My opinion from the start of the interview didn't change to the end of the interview. There wasn't enough information. He also spoke about how the accounts are whiter than white and would allow any Newcastle fan or whoever to go and view those accounts if they wanted to. I mean, again, you can say anything you want because he knows for a fact that he isn't actually going to allow anyone to just go and view those accounts, you know? So if the interviewer turned around and gone, all right, nice one, my mate Fred is a great accountant, he'll be at your door on Monday, then Ashley would actually have to give an answer. You know, you can't just make a statement and then just brush it over and then go on to the next question, which is how I felt the whole interview kind of went. So yeah, if you have read it or you want to talk about any of the comments that I've just made, I know I've been talking for a little while on that one, let me know down in the comments below. And before I sign off on Ashley, it also came out over the weekend that Sports Direct is faced with a £605 million tax bill from Belgium. Again, I believe Sports Direct or Ashley or someone has come out and said they're challenging it or something along those lines. Again, I am not an accountant, so I cannot comment on that really. And it's just with the whole interview and everything else, like, I think the best way to say it is just there's no smoke without fire. You know, Ashley's making statements like this is fine and that is fine, but then, you know, people are coming out and saying, well, it's not. Yeah. I'll just leave it there. Let me know what you guys think down below of everything. If you've read the interview, let me know what you thought of it as well. And yeah, let me know down below. And to finish off, the new third kit is now out. If you haven't seen it, it's orange. I don't know. I didn't look at it and think it looked bad, but I didn't look at it and think I definitely want that. And again, when are we wearing this third kit? We're not in Europe. It's just for money. I remember in the old days when they used to... Old days. I'm sure there's people who remember further back than I do. But I remember they used to do a new home kit every 2 years and a new away kit every 2 years. So there was basically like one new kit a year. Now we do a new home, away and third kit every year. You know? Like... And we don't even wear the third kit. We're not in any tournaments that need a third kit. So it's all about money. And I know a lot of people have stopped buying the shirts. I love my retro one, so I've not bought a shirt in years, obviously because of what's going on with Ashley and everything else. But yeah, the new third kit's out, so if you like it and you want it, then, you know, who am I to say? It is exactly 23 years today, and Newcastle actually tweeted about this, that we signed Alan Shearer. Madness. Yeah. I mean, obviously we've just broken our transfer record with Joe Linton, but, you know, Shearer at the time was on top of the world when we brought him, and to bring a Geordie back in that way was fantastic. I quite often joke on that even at this present day, I wouldn't mind Shearer stood on the penalty box, on the penalty spot, during some of our games, especially when we've got strikers who weren't performing. Although, you know, Rondon did us a very good job last season. Let's hope Joel Linton can do it this season. And I thought I'd finish off today because I do read all of your comments. I think I answered the vast majority of them on the last video, so I'll try and do it again today. And I did say let me know down below of any news that I didn't cover. And one that kept popping up over and over was Andy Carroll. This gets rumoured every single year. Obviously, you guys have been thinking about it because quite a few of you commented it down below. My view on Andy Carroll, I think he can still do us a job, but that is a very blanket statement. What I think will happen is, I think I would take him on a free, but only if it was on pay to play, because if the worry is you sign him and then he doesn't play for 2 years or however long we sign. If it's a year or 2 years, we sign him, he falls off a bar stool and gets injured for a year, and we've just paid him a whole year's wages for never playing. You know, so we don't want that. If we bring him in, it needs to be on pay to play. You know, if he's fit that week and he's on the bench, or we even don't put him in the squad because we'd rather have other players, you know, that's fine. You know, as long as he's fit, that's fine. We'll give him his wages. But the point is, if he's not fit or he does suddenly get a 6-month injury, we can't just say, look, sorry, but we're going to have to move you that way. So yeah, if he's on a free, if we'll get him for free and he's on a pay to play, I'd take him. Off the bench, I think could do very well for us. Having said that, I don't think Andy Carroll is probably daft enough to sign a pay to play. I think there's probably clubs out there who will be willing to take the risk on a full contract, and therefore I don't think we'll see him. Hopefully we aren't the silly ones who are willing to take the risk on him, because I wouldn't take it, but who knows. But yeah, let me know what you think about Andy Carroll down below. Bit of a lighter note there. Alright, once again, thank you for watching. If I've missed any more news, let me know down in the comments below. Enjoy your week. Fingers crossed tonight at Hibs for a pre-season win. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll catch you later.